Hello and welcome to the MHG podcast. Once again, I'm Bradley and it's bringing light into the week. Miserable as usual, the UK and everything, and it's dark, dank, miserable. So we want to bring you some joy, and he brings joy to me every single day. It's Stu. How you doing, Stu?
Oh, I feel a lot better now. That's a nice intro. Yeah, no, it's not been a bad week. I went into the office yesterday, which means going down to London, which is always fun on the train. So I'm completely knackered out. But obviously raring to go to talk about games, because they are the light of my life.
Nothing to do. Your wife? No, not at all. None of that. The games.
Who? Oh, yeah. Sorry, my wife. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's been a strange old week. It's half term, and we kind of got rid of Edith for a little bit, but then we ended up making an impromptu trip to go and watch Liverpool Women away, which was fun as always, and became life changing, which I'll talk about in a future episode. Can't be arsed at the moment. I'm just really, really tired. But you know what's not tired, Stu?
What's not tired?
Video games, Stu. I forgot that was called for a second.
Yeah.
If you look deep and you look beyond AAA, they don't get tired. It's only tiring with the AAA crap that's about.
Yeah, that's true.
So I barely play them. I play indies. I don't know where I'm going with this. This is the worst intro I've done for months. You can tell I'm tired.
Peerless, really on your game, just like me. Yeah.
Put me out my misery, Stu. Tell me something you've been playing.
I can do that. So, with it being Spooktober, it's October. It's October, but it's Halloween. So, as it's Halloween time, I've been playing. Well, going back a little bit, I watch a lot of Twitch streamers, but I tend to see their YouTube stuff because I'm too old to be like, I can
watch
just
it live.
Yeah, sit there for 7 hours watching a live feed. So
I don't know. Yeah, these young kids today watching their live stuff. Well, back in the day, we used to just watch it on demand.
I know.
Don't know what they're on about. All this newfangled watching live.
Crazy, isn't it? So I don't do it generally. And yeah, I was watching one of my favourites called Bok Soup, which is a pun on chickens. It doesn't matter. I found him through Games Done Quick. He often does speedruns of Resident Evil, and I watch a lot of his Resident Evil stuff, which is always good. And yeah, with it being this time of year, there's loads of Resident Evil playthroughs, and I decided to have a go of Resident Evil The Prison, which is a total conversion for the PlayStation of Resident Evil Survivor, which is one of the crappier games. It was based around using the Gun-Con 2 to move around your character and stuff. It was rubbish.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. And it's a total conversion using, I think, that engine, which is a modified version of the Resident Evil 2 engine, and nobody cares. But it plays on the original hardware. So yeah, burned it to disc, dug out my PS1, which is the lovely little one I've got the LCD screen. I've had it for about 20 years, and stuck it on there, burnt it to a disc, stuck it on there, and I'm really liking it. I mean, it's not for people who don't like the Resident Evil tank controls, but I love them, and the reason I love them is because it's all about, the reason why the games lend themselves to speedruns so well, particularly the old games, is because it's all about ammo conservation when you're going back and forth, and you have to go back and forth to solve puzzles and to get items. So you've got a limited inventory space you play Tetris with, try and fit everything in. You've got the chests where you store your stuff and the save rooms and all that, and you've got these corridors that you've got to run back and forth, and you can't kill everything because you won't have enough ammo. So it's kind of working out when to conserve and when it's better to kill stuff, and trying to get good at the controls, which are deliberately difficult so that you can't just escape everything dead easily. And that's all part of the charm and part of the fun. And this prison conversion is, it's set inside a prison. There's loads of zombies. There's very few bioweapon monsters because it's set, obviously set in a prison. But there's loads of zombies and limited ammo, and it's only short, but for an extension of playing Resident Evil, it's more 1.5, so it's kind of feels midway between the first game and the second one. Not massively sophisticated, even by the classic game terms, But yeah, really good fun, completely free. It was developed, it's modded by a guy called, I hope I get his name right, is Aydan Williams. He does loads of these kind of mods. I'll make sure that he's tagged in the notes for this.
I don't know what name I was expecting you to say when you went, I hope I get this right, and you went Aydan Williams. I was expecting something like Finnish or something like that with a really awkward last name.
Yeah.
I hope I say this right. Dave Smith.
It's just, I can't remember if it's like Aydan or it's Williams. I'm not entirely sure.
I know where you was going. It was just one of those where
yeah.
I was half expecting you to try and butcher a Finnish name or an Arabic name or something. You just went Aydan Williams.
Yeah. Like you say, Dave Smith. Dave Smythe, is it? Or Dave Smythe. Yeah, no. So, yeah.
David? Doesn't sound French.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll make sure that his stuff is linked. Stu from the future here. Ooh, I know you love it when I do these. Yeah, it was just to say that it's Aydan Watkins, not Williams. So my concerns about screwing up the poor guy's name were entirely justified. So apologies for that, Aydan, or Aydan, or Williams, or whatever your name is. Anyway, here's the show. But yeah, no, really good. Very in mod terms, absolutely fantastic, because it's better than. It works better than Survivor, which was the actual full release. So yeah, great stuff. Big thumbs up to the modder for that.
Yeah, the Resident Evil games, actually, you mentioned them, but we'll probably come on to a little bit about spooky games in a bit and my issues with them. But like the original Resident Evils 1 and 2 and 3 to a degree always stand the test of time for me, because the tank controls are part and parcel of what give those a sense of dread, because you can't just run. You can't just run anywhere or hide anywhere. You are limited by the game's limitations. And that ups the tension factor more than I think like a modern game like Outlast or even Resident Evil 7 does. There's something about those tank controls that do add a sense of fear to them.
Yeah.
And I'm all for that, and I still love that graphical style. I don't care. It looks like, it does now look like some kind of dodgy like Minecraft mod or something like that from a certain angle, which is great. There's something about that blockiness that just worked.
Yeah. I really like it. Yeah, I really like that visual style as well. And even if you don't have the pre-rendered backgrounds, just locking off the backgrounds so that you've got static camera angles. It's like a horror film. Also, you haven't got perfect vision. You can pick whether the camera's like placed at ground level or really high up in a corner. You can have zombies hidden around corners and stuff. It's really great. It's a really good way of raising tension that isn't just a cheap jump scare or anything.
100%. I mean, still one of the most iconic moments for me that like really stood out and said, oh my god, this is going to be the future of video games, bizarrely, was that first time you run through the alleyway in the original Silent Hill, and you've got that fixed point camera but moves ever so slightly as you go, and it just adds something to that movement for a very small alleyway. And I was like, oh my god, it's like a horror movie. And you don't get that now in first person and stuff like that, because it's all too smooth and tries to be claustrophobic, but it doesn't quite manage it. We'll come to that later. But yeah, no, Resi mods are, there's some really good ones out there that I've seen played. I can't remember the names of any of them because it's me, but I've seen a few good mods that have been played and stuff like that over the years, so I might dig some of those out.
Yeah, no, it's great, and I agree with you on the camera angle stuff. It's got a place. There is a place for it. There are more games that should probably be made with that kind of restriction. Shouldn't take over the world, but it should be available. Yeah. So it's just really good. Yeah, just really been enjoying that. It's good stuff.
No, excellent. I'm not into spooky games. They don't scare me, but we'll come to that. We'll come to that in a little bit. So I've been playing something that's completely not a spooky game at any way, shape or form. I've been playing catch up really, because I've had a few games that were sent to me that I never got around to actually playing properly, and I am now. The first one of them is Sunday Gold from Team 17, and it's a point and click RPG type affair. The only I could kind of put it is like almost like Disco Elysium on a budget.
Oh, okay.
Which is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I've sort of enjoyed it. Need some accessibility options that I'll just get out. Lots of small text, which is a shame. But that's about the only thing wrong with it. Gameplay wise, it's traditional point and click stuff. It's got emerging story. There's like a lot of sort of like development of characters that goes on as you go through, inventory management, all that gubbins that you get with every point and click, and it's puzzle based. It just works really, really well. But the idea is, but I think stories are always important for this, so I'm not going to try and like spoil or anything. But it's kind of set in this future London, I think it's meant to be. They all speak with a bit of a dodgy Cockney accent, so I'm guessing it's future London. And you're one of three. Like you play this group of 3 different criminals who are like in the underworld, and they're trying to expose this like mega corporation for what they are, and like try and like expose this billionaire. And Google's on one again. And it's just really good point and click, a really decent story that's going through it. I think the gameplay's okay. It does what it needs to do. I think we spoke about in the past stuff like Lacuna and games like that do really good in terms of allowing you to just go, look, this is everything you can click in the level by pressing this button. We'll highlight it. There's none of that there, which is a shame.
Yeah.
But the story for me is dragging it through. There's a turn-based battle system that works really well. That you feel quite pleased when you get through it. Presentation-wise, it's really good, really stylish. I would say it's somewhere between Chinatown Detective Agency and Disco Elysium in terms of what it's trying to be, but veering more towards the Disco Elysium side of things. So yeah, really, really, really good. I'm probably about 4 or 5 hours into it so far, and I'm totally intrigued. Just a shame it needs some accessibility options.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that is a bit of a miss, really. They're fairly, I would imagine, fairly easy to code in, particularly like you say about highlighting what you need to click on to progress. Yeah.
It's been done. We've seen how that should be handled. Text size, just like, if you want to keep your menus as they are because it's important to the game, that's fine. But they just have it like, do you want an option that we can actually show you a full screen overlay of a menu item or some like text, subtitle, a text box in bigger text, or just something. It needs something for a lot of these games. You want me to be invested, but when I get frustrated, you lose my I'm not as invested. I dare say if this had all the proper accessibility options and wasn't hurting me to play, I probably would have finished it in a few sittings. Whereas now I kind of drag it out, like just a lot of it I played through some extra because I wanted to do it for the podcast. I want to play it, but I don't know whether it's going to keep me going back in at the state it's in. But which is a shame because it's a fantastic game that I think, in terms of gameplay and everything and story, it deserves a lot of recognition. But I couldn't recommend this is played on the Steam Deck for one. And if people do have visual impairments, it's almost a no-go, which is a shame.
Yeah, the text size thing completely baffles me. I don't really understand why. You can't just opt to have it to be 75% of the size of the screen if you want, right down to 0.5%. Surely it should be in the hands of the user to decide that these days.
Yeah.
It takes up just a few kilobytes of RAM to have those options in. So, yeah, disappointing.
Yeah, I don't want to say it's lazy. I would never accuse a developer of doing that, but it's an oversight that nowadays should not be an oversight.
Definitely, I agree.
But yeah, apart from that, if you are into point and click, it's definitely one to add to the list. And we'll do this as we've been starting to do this now. 18, just short of 18 quid. And yeah, I think, again, if you're able-bodied enough, you don't have visual issues like I do, you're going to play it on the PC, this is a bargain. I said it's just that it comes with a caveat warning for people with visual disabilities.
Yeah, no, completely understood. Yeah.
So, moving on from one scary game when it comes to accessibility. Have I linked this well, or are you going to just make me look like an idiot? Go, Stu.
Yeah, probably. Well, I normally make you look like an idiot inadvertently anyway, for which I constantly have to apologise. What I've been playing, apart from that, and only briefly, was a game called Black Future 88, which...
Yes.
Oh, right, you've heard of that one. Cool.
No, I haven't played it. I've heard of it, yes.
Yeah,
it's on I think I've got it on Steam.
Nice. So, yeah, nothing to do with, African American people at all, although it sounds like it, or fear of a black planet. It's nothing to do with that.
It sounds like a right wing's agenda's like worst nightmare.
It does, yeah, which would be great, But yeah, no, it just means like, dark future. It seems to be kind of sort of cyberpunky, set in a post-nuclear society that's also a little bit retro, blah, 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 blah. All the same stuff that's being done in every single game currently.
It's a little bit Blade Runner.
Yeah, everything's doing the same with that in the indie space.
Yeah.
If they're not like trying to look like a Souls game, they're trying to look like Cyberpunk. So
actually, I was just looking at the trailer. It looks like someone watched some Blade Runner, followed swiftly by watching some Akira. I went, oh, that'll make a good game.
Exactly. So, yeah, everything is in that style these days. It's just, yeah, but fair enough. If people want to do it, they want to do it. So it's gameplay-wise, it's really strange because it's like Returnal, not strange in and of itself, although it's in 2D, but it came out 2 years before Returnal. So you could say Returnal stole all of its ideas. Although that is completely wrong. I'm just being licentious. Not licentious. I can't remember what the word is. You see, tired. But
you're just trying to be controversial for the listens.
That's it. Trying to increase the listenership. But yeah, so you kind of you run around. You've got 15 minutes to comply. Well, not comply, but before you die, which rhymes, and that was not intentional. But I really am overtired. But yeah, you kind of run around the levels and you shoot stuff and you hit stuff. You can choose between characters. You've got different weapons. You can pick up weapons as you go along, and it's normally split between a ranged and a melee. And yeah, you've got like a dash button, extremely similar to Returnal, that grants a few iframes so you can't get killed while you're doing it. There are lots of enemies. They normally have a lot of health. They're quite tanky, so you have to be very alert and very use your jump and your dash very, very well. So it does absolutely nothing new really, but it looks very pretty. It handles very well, and I got it for like £1 on Steam. So yeah, so far, really big thumbs up.
Yeah, it looks interesting. I remember sort of picking it up probably in a bundle or just, again, really cheap on like Fanatical or something like that. And I've just not got round to playing it, but I'm now watching the trailer and I'm kind of like, oh, I do actually, fancy giving this one a go. It's definitely looks interesting, that's for sure. Yeah,
it's very, very fast. It's very small in terms of sprites and characters, so that it can fit tons of stuff going on the screen. So that might be a challenge on the deck for people. I played it on deck and did find all of the stuff a little bit tiny, but doable. But yeah, no, it doesn't really do anything particularly new. It's one of those that is easy to slip through the cracks because it's an arcade game of a very particular style that is very common at the moment. But if you're into that kind of thing, it's definitely one you should check out at least, especially at the low price. I think the reason I got it is because I saw it's on sale on Switch for very cheap.
Yeah.
So if you've got a Switch but you haven't got anything else, go for it on the Switch.
It's got a little bit Dead Cells about it by the looks of it.
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
Just in terms of the animation style and the lots of colours and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, and Dead Cells has that kind of modernised... oh, God, what's it called? Flashback, that's it. That modernised sort of flashback style, and so was this. It's nice.
Could you imagine if we did decide, like with the PS1 era, that was the way forward completely and everything had to move to 3D and we never went back to 2D games?
Yeah.
What we'd be losing out on about now. It's...
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Yeah, it's funny because I think about that quite a lot, more than a normal human being should probably. but about whether, what if voxels became the only thing that were ever used, or what if mega textures were the only thing that ever, got popularity, or what if we only ever stayed with sprites, but the size of of processors and RAM kept going up. It's an interesting little thought experiment sometimes to think what things would look like.
Yeah, I mean, okay, if you'd have said to me back like when I was playing a Mega Drive and stuff like that, if you'd have shown me this sort of game of Dead Cells and went, this is the future, I would have still been gone, oh my god, these look amazing, but believed it. Whereas the hyper real graphics we get on some 3D stuff, I still don't quite believe that's something that's real. It's like that. You're never going to get to that. But it's also, you put any 2D game in my hands and I can play it. Not well, admittedly, but I can play it. Whereas a lot of 3D games, they don't have what I would say a typical control system. They don't always all agree on what the main buttons should be for moving and looking and stuff like that. I know most will use the right stick and left stick naturally with each other, but then you get some will use triggers for actions, others will use A for actions, and it's just there's no cohesion. So you've got to spend like some time working out how to play these. Whereas you pick up one of these, I know I'll just go left. A's bound to be jump if it's got a jump mechanic. And then, right, okay, I've got this. Now what can I do? And build up on it. And, they're just so playable. And it makes me want to see, like, a Sonic or a Mario in these styles as well. I want to see him, like, push out the boat. So they go 3D, go retro future.
Yeah, it would look amazing. That's been proved, I think, with Sonic Mania, that people really love it. They really love that style. And it never goes out of... It's timeless. It never gets dated. But to the control thing, funnily enough, I was thinking about, well, not really controls, but I'm thinking about the way that things have changed and like our perception of how accessible things are and the buttons and all that. Because just the other day, like I stuck on R4 Ridge Racer Type 4, and such an amazing game. But I can remember at the time, back in like 1999 or whatever it was, thinking, oh god, like you have to go into a menu and pick a car and pick a manufacturer, and then there's some text that comes up from the driving manager, and then you get to play. Oh god, this is where's the getting into the race? And I came back to it the other day. I was like, this takes a minute. It's like, it's nothing. And I like thought of it as this great big deal back at 20 odd years ago. And now you'll spend that time going through the menu of an action game to start an action game.
Yeah.
And every single racing game will take you at least 5 minutes to get from power on to, you have to pick so many things. They give you this walkthrough that you've seen a million times and you don't need. Choose whether to do a Grand Prix, choose your setup. Are you going to do story mode or are you going to do pure racing? And just looking back, it just throws into like how quick and immediate all that stuff was. And like, it's a driving game. There's the option for several more buttons, but really it's still just accelerate and brake. And sometimes, I'm not saying that all games should be basic, but there should always be basically controlled games so that you can just choose them and go straight at them.
And again, this is where I think like the Steam Deck is set in the future of what video games will be. Because if the next Xbox controller, for whatever their new system is, comes out and it doesn't have 4 back paddles built into the controller, I'll be very, very shocked.
Yeah.
And touchpads and like essentially Steam controllers. Because one of the things I found is accessibility with the Steam Deck, like custom controls. It's like one example is a emulated game, and another example I'll give quickly is like a modern game. So one of the things I can't get my head around going back to old racing games is using like A to accelerate rather than the triggers to accelerate. Now playing an old MSR and stuff like that, you need to use like the A, and I was like, I can't do that. So you just immediately go into like the overall system override settings and remap A to be on the trigger.
Yeah.
On the right trigger, and then X, I think, was brake, or B, whatever was brake, onto the left trigger. And you've not, it's not analog, but you've all of a sudden got analog controls. And it's done. It's set. That's it. You haven't got to worry about it. You haven't even got to remap anything in the game, which is brilliant. And you can't do that with an actual Dreamcast controller on the original hardware. You can't actually remap those controls. So for me, it actually makes it a better experience to emulate that game than to play it on the original hardware, because we've got so used to playing racing games in a certain way, even arcade ones. And the other one I went, right, this has changed how I play these sorts of games, is I've got not Tiger Woods, PGA 2K23.
Yeah.
The issue I had was I couldn't see the free click meter properly, because it was like a yellow line that then grows out as a circle, and then you have to do it on the white line, and it's too small. And I couldn't do it, couldn't see it. And I put in a sort of bit of feedback to the developers, like, can you do it so we can at least increase the size? And someone came back and went, well, actually, what you can do, if you set the left touchpad to touch, and that toggles on magnification, and you use the right touchpad as mouse controls, you can basically touch on just once, adjust the right mouse pad to say whenever you zoom into this section of the screen, and then whenever you're ready to take a shot, you basically touch on to zoom right into the free click meter, do your actions, and then just basically tap it again, and you're out into the full screen view to watch your ball go wherever it's got to go. And it's changed the way I play that golf game, or anything, stuff like that. I could, if I don't need the touchpads for anything in game, I see it's now just become my default turn on magnification.
Yeah.
I haven't got to use the Steam button to do it, because as good as that is, that's awkward. But I just, now anything where I can use it, it's like, right, that magnification is on the left, moving the magnification screen around is on the right touchpad, away we go. And it's just changed everything for me, which I can't do on any other console. But I've got a feeling, hopefully that's something we'll do. And one thing I'd like to see Valve adjust with that magnification is, can you actually allow me different levels of magnification? So using the left pad, could I set it so I have 4 different regions, and I have a 1.5 times zoom, a 2 times zoom, a 3 times zoom, and a 4 times zoom, so that I can make the adjustments for what I want, based on what region I touch. Yeah. Or even, can I have that it's a sliding scale, so I touch and press up and it zooms in, I touch and I pull back and it zooms out, or I just do a single tap in the middle and it resets. All things like that. Can they now start to improve that magnification tool? Because I think that's what's got to come next.
Yeah.
But as I said, like, this is all stuff I could do on Valve's hardware now that I can't do on anything else. I can't do it on anything else. And it's brilliant for it.
Yeah.
And I think we are looking into the future of, this is what controls are. There was often what does controllers become next? Have we perfected them? No, we haven't. But what we're now seeing is, what should a controller be? Customization, accessibility. That's what's next. And I think that's, with the likes of Valve, I think that's what's coming.
Yeah, definitely. And there was that breakthrough, I think, they've been doing it since the era of the 360 and the PS3, really, but only kind of getting there with the PS5 and Series X, is, having a dedicated section of RAM and the OS that is the front end, and you can bring it up in game at any, or in menu at any point that you want, and fiddle with settings. Obviously in the past with consoles, once you're in a game, you can't do anything except quit out of the game.
Yeah.
Now you can make changes on the fly, and it's a bigger deal in the PS5 than it used to be. It's still not as big enough a deal, but it still gives you a little bit more control. But like you're right, with the Steam Deck, it's that thing of, you want to go in and change what they're doing with this? Yeah, of course you can do that. And you're right, yeah. It's the future. You just put all the buttons on there, any buttons that you want, but make sure that you've got, I can remap them, or I can make this a zoom function, or I can do this, I can do that.
Absolutely, any button could do any other button's job. I mean, obviously you can't turn A into a joystick. That's like physically impossible. But you can easily turn A into a joystick click.
Yep.
And it's all stuff like that, which is the worst thing that ever was invented. And I get, but it's now brilliant, was the joystick click for running.
Yes.
So whoever invented that needs to slap him. But now, with extra buttons and customization, fine. Do you know what? You stick that in your game, and I'll just stick it on the back panel.
Yeah.
Now, I was going to take their dick out my mouth, but I'm going to leave it in for a little bit longer because the other thing Valve have got really, really right with all of this and why it works so well is community options.
Yeah.
I can go into a game and 8 out of 10 times, if someone else has played it or enough people have played it, they've created their own custom controller scheme, which you can download.
Yeah.
And they make adjustments to that and re-upload it and stuff like that. It's like, you know, I downloaded one for Dorfromantic. And I got on with it, but I needed to make a couple of adjustments, did it, and then re-uploaded it. I done it with Railroute, which a few months back I played on Steam Deck. I was like, this is unplayable. It's so bad to play. And then I downloaded someone else's custom config, really liked it, but changed it up a bit. So it's like I made it so it's on a grid system. So each grid is like a little square that tells you where you can lay your tracks down and stuff like that. So what I did was I had regular mouse control on normal sensitivity on my right my right trackpad, and then I had my right joystick. I set the sensitivity so far down that essentially each press of the joystick acted almost as moving one square in that direction. So it allowed me finer control of where everything was.
Yeah.
Which again is brilliant that I took someone else's and then I've done that and then I re-uploaded that so someone else can maybe take that and do something better with that because the sensitivity might not be quite right. It's fine for me, might not be quite right for everyone else, and they can do stuff. And I love the fact that this stuff grows. The only thing I would like to find out, again, this is again something Valve got to do, is allow me to search for certain things or let us vote on, you know, give a score out of 10 or 5 or, you know, upvote more control schemes or search. You know, I might want to search for magnification, for example, in a control scheme and then find any that have got magnification options.
Yeah.
And then get rid of all the rest. That would be brilliant for me. So there's stuff that's got to be built, but obviously, you know, the Steam Deck is like a baby still, and I don't think enough people got into the Steam controller for that to be developed. Although all this is based on the Steam controller itself, because it's all stuff that was there. I think there's gonna be a lot more put into that moving forward. But yeah, you know, just now let's work on improving what's there and getting more community options in.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm gonna take it out now before they finish.
Good. Nice disgusting imagery there, thanks for that. But yeah, no, it's interesting because it ties into a lot of stuff we talked about in the past with representation, in that, you know, if you've got a group of people who are working on accessibility options and none of them have any of the disabilities that they're trying to represent, then they can be the kindest hearted and most lovely people in the world, but their progress is going to be slow because they don't have the experience. So that is why it's so important to bring those voices in. And that's what we always say about all media and all about all, you know, racism, sexism, you know, transphobia, absolutely everything, is that your company wants to avoid all of that stuff, and they probably are very good and very liberal thinking people, but because they don't have that inclusion, they're not getting the right voices in place, and it takes them a lot longer to get where they should be. So yeah, it all ties into that as well.
As I said, developers are starting to listen. You know, the fact is, whether it happens or not, I don't know. But as I said, the people behind Lego Bricktales have appreciated what I said about the background colour. Can we have an option that we can manually change that?
Yeah. Or
set that in a menu? Brilliant. I hope that does come in. They may choose to ignore it, but the fact they did listen to it is fine. And I fed back. There's a game coming out called A Little to the Left that I did feed back to them because some of their levels are just too bright. They need some contrast options, maybe outlining, or again, allow me to change the palette a little bit to a dark mode. And immediately they came back and said, right, we have been working on all this. There are definitely some bits coming, but we thought we had got this all locked down. We are sorry, we're going to have another look at it and see what's what. But the levels you mentioned, we are aware of, and we are looking to do fixes, but we are going to look a lot more carefully to it. Which again is all you ask. Yeah. And this is why community is important and why feeding back is important. Because the developers don't know. Until you say something, they don't know. The reason there's no accessibility options in so many games is not enough people talk about it. Not enough people are willing to speak up. All you'll hear is, small text. Well, just instead of going, small text, what is the issue with small text? What ideas have you got that could fix it? Might not work. Me saying, just allow me to increase the UI size. I get that could break some UI. So why not then look at, can we do a simplified UI for certain people where it's off until you click it on and it's just a simple menu? Can we go from, can we have just a simple menu tree for a lot of items and stuff like that? There's all things we can do that might not work, but let's discuss them at a base level. Let's start discussing them once a game comes out and goes, right, this is what's wrong with this game. This is why certain communities can't access it. We're not saying fix this game, but for your next game, please take that into consideration. But because people just go, we'll have a quick moan and that's it, it's not going to happen because it's gone out their mindset. And all everyone's doing is either praising the game for being a great game for able-bodied people or slagging it off because it's not just a good game, rather than discussing what could be causing that. And I will guarantee you now, some accessibility options will improve the base game for everybody as well. There's that level to it as we are. So, again, it's getting better. It is getting better. But I don't want this to be a rain. It's more celebration of that things are improving.
Yeah, I mean, I agree and disagree with what you just said. I agree that community should be vocal and should get back to the developers, but I also think it's not really their responsibility in the first place to have these things in place. I think that, yes, complaint and criticism after the fact is good because it will help them next time, but really they shouldn't be making these mistakes, because if they had the right level of representation in the design process, just like you would have to if you were another business where you had HR and you had, you were reaching a market and you were doing your desperate best to make sure that you reached as many people as possible. It should be the responsibility of the publishers to make sure that most of this stuff is in there, to be honest.
I totally agree. Again, the only caveat to that I would say is what's done is done. The past is the past, and we have made those mistakes as a whole. So it's now learning from them. That's what we've got to do. In ideal world, then representation across all communities and everything would be in there already. Unfortunately, the cold hard truth is it's not. And it hasn't been. Yeah. So we just got to make sure we are learning now. That's the important thing. And I said, that's why I think it's improving. I don't think it's there. And it's, I'll speak up now. It's one of the reasons I want to start a company that is at a consultancy level on day zero of game development about this is what's needed from all these different types of people. This is what we suggest you put in. This is how you can do it. Can you make X amount of this work? If not all of it.
Yeah.
And then work with people. Do test it. Even if it's just testing, going, right, we've got these levels built out as test levels with these accessibility functions. Can you test them and see how you get on?
Yeah.
Don't need to be good at the game. Don't need you to be good at the game. Just, can you play it? Is that text easy enough to read? If not, okay, we've increased the size. At this level, does this make it easier? And if we get to a point where I go, right, now I can find that easy to read, and they go, and someone else goes, right, but okay, now that's broken the game. That's broken this aspect of the game. You find that happy medium. You go, right, is that something you can fix in-game and work around? Or do you need to go, right, okay, so what other options have we got? Do we have a speech to text or text to speech? Do we have, a layer that you can put above everything with a press of a button that tells you what that text is? All these different things. Can you do it in game as the options, or do you need to do something external? And then we gradually bring those in. And I still think Sony are the best for this, but they've got to make sure they're sharing these tools with everyone. That's their next stage. Don't make money. It's not about making money with these tools. It's about making money in the long run, because you're a business and that's what you want to do. More people that buy your game, the more money you'll make. Simple as that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely agree.
Right. Talking of games.
Go for it.
My other one I've been playing is both brand new and 10 years old.
Yeah.
Now, I've been playing Q.U.B.E, or Q.U.B.E. I don't know what the acronym is, by the way. No idea. I couldn't find any information about it. But anyway, it's Q.U.B.E 10th anniversary. And here comes the title of your podcast. From the outset, it might look like Poundland Portal.
Portal. Nice.
And it really does. There's lots of white areas with slightly coloured accents around it that sort of guide you through, etc., etc. There's an over sort of bearing AI that's with you, and it's kind of like you can tell where it's going, and this game goes places, and you get various different puzzle types that are gradually introduced to you as you go. You're kind of not sure what you're doing in there, and then it all starts to become a bit clearer, etc., etc. And I must admit, 10 years ago, I literally went, I'd rather play Portal. You know,
Yeah.
I've played Portal. This isn't as good as Portal. Now, it's been a long while since we've had a new Portal. So I've kind of got this, it's almost fresh. And whilst it is, I said, it pretty much is Poundland Portal. But that's not a bad thing. You know yourself, Stu. Right? Sometimes you go to Poundland, you might just want a pack of 10 lighters. That's fine. You'll get those 10 lighters. Better than paying £1 for those than going to pay 15 quid for one from another shop. We know that. It's fine. And this is what this is. It's a £10. It's a £1 pack of 10 lighters. It's functional, does the job, and do you know what? I'm having a really good time with it. Some really good puzzles that do give you that eureka moment at times. It's like I had one fairly early where you had to kind of maneuver a green block onto a blue block to shoot the green block up in the air to then catch it on a red block. You also then had to get onto the blue block that shot the green block into the air to then shoot yourself up into the air onto the green block and then make it fall back down to the blue block with you on the green block to then force you further enough up so you can then just jump off the green block to the end of the level. And it's like it took me ages to work that out. And then the second I did it, I just went, for fuck's sake, that was simple. That was really simple. But then there's another one. It's like almost creating a marble run where the ball runs down and you just have to make sure the level's set out so that it runs down this little run and goes into a box at the end and away you go. Really, really good. All like really good emerging puzzles in there. Really enjoying it. It's got like an original version where you could just do like all the puzzles. It's got a story-based moment, story-based mode to it as well. It's relatively short. I think based on, Portal, which was a fairly short game in itself, I think it's good that it's kept things relatively short. So you're not really doing the same puzzle time after time. After time is slightly different variations. It always feels like it's doing new stuff. And I think there's like 8 different major levels in it. This is with the new version because it has this thing called Sector 8, which is kind of what it builds towards. Which I'd imagine is towards its like big GLaDOS style showdown or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, it's just a really good puzzle game. Most of it is logic based in terms of you could just work it out logically and go for it. There are a couple where you kind of got to do timing based stuff, and I'm not a big fan of timing based logic puzzles. Never have been. That's why I preferred Portal 1 to Portal 2, because there was less of those in Portal 1 than there was in Portal 2, like the emotion thing what made you go faster.
Yeah.
Some of it I was like, I get it, and I've got the puzzle. I just can't get the timing down.
Yes.
Which was a shame. And this has got a couple of levels a little bit like that. But overall, I would say 8 out of 10 of the levels that you do are logic based, and you could just work it out and do it, which is brilliant. In terms of accessibility, really good. It's like, considering it's all white, it's not a bright white, if that makes sense.
Right.
It's like not grey either, but it's just done just right that I'm able to see. And it's got full colourblind support and stuff like that, that allows you to use different symbols as the colours as well, so you can work stuff out there, which is really, really good. Most of it is symbol based, or you barely any menus at all. So there's not actually much reading or text to do, which is really, really good as well. It's like a really good puzzle game for anyone who enjoys logic-based games like this. I'm not a big fan of the 3D ones, in all fairness, but this I am really pleased with, that I finally got round to playing this. And I will apologise to the developers now. I was wrong first time around. It's much better than I assumed it would be.
Cool.
Oh no. Right, they're called Toxic Games, which I don't think in this day and age is a great name for a video game company.
Yeah.
I mean, you've lost that. Ubisoft took that trademark.
They really did. Toxic masculinity. Yeah, they could be called. Yeah, no, I was just looking it up. It's apparently quick understanding of block extrusion. That's what it stands for.
There you go.
Yeah,
I'm sure that is. Yeah, there you go. It was obviously somewhere. I just my old Googling skills are not very good.
There is a Cube just looked on Wikipedia.
Well. There you go. There is a Q.U.B.E as well. Never played it, but do you know what? I think I might give that a go.
I'm intrigued now to give this a go because I like that. You know, I'm not a big fan of puzzle games in general, but I prefer it when the puzzles are slightly easier and the action is slightly heavier, which is why I like the Resident Evil stuff. So I might well pick one of these up.
So if you're gonna go for a Cube, then definitely go for Q.U.B.E 10th anniversary because it's got everything plus any quality of life improvements.
Yes.
I've not played Q.U.B.E 2, and that's like 25 quid, I think. So it's a bit maybe above what you'd want to test. 15 quid for Q.U.B.E 10th anniversary is the price I know of that one. But I believe you can also pick up like the original Q.U.B.E for like a little under like 8 quid as well. So it's up to you, where you want to go. I don't know if there's a demo out. I mean, again, it would help if there was maybe a demo. There's not a demo. There's no demo. But it's good. I'm enjoying it. I think if you do have any interest in 3D puzzle there, I think you'll get something from this.
Cool. Yeah, and it's got ray tracing support as well. So I might well pick it up and have a look how pretty it looks.
Oh, I might pop that on the desktop PC because obviously I don't get ray tracing on the deck.
No.
Because one of the things I found out, you don't even really want shadows on a Steam Deck.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter. Just stick them on low. It really does not matter one iota. But I might see what this is like in all its glory on the desktop at some point.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, there's that weird thing of size of display where you can have lots of discrete and distinct areas that are some are bright, some are not bright, because of just the sheer physical size. Whereas with a small screen, you really do need to have that sharp distinction and high contrast, really, as much as possible. Otherwise, it just kind of gets blurred into one.
Oh yeah, 100%. But it's I like the fact we have these options, and it's the one thing I've got a bit. I'm finding myself caring more and more about being on, like making sure games are on PC, is that they're scalable.
Yeah.
You're not limited. You're not stuck to. Do you know what? It's like for whatever reason we've made this for Switch and it's not quite worked out, but tough. Whereas with PC, you can play it on a potato. Essentially, a lot of games it might look like shit, but you could go. I tell you what, I want this game to look shit, but I want it to play.
Yeah,
and you get that option, which you can't get on console to a degree. And then, I think that's almost going to be the next gen of console as well. Is these options are there? What do you want? How do you want to play this game? How the community play in this game, etc.
Indeed.
By the way, do that, Valve. Can we have community game settings? That'd be nice.
That'd be lovely.
Because I don't want to spend ages working out how to get 60 frames per second on a racing game, but still make it look decent because I haven't got the time or inkling or the vision to be able to do that. Whereas if someone else has done that and it's been verified, I could go, sweet, just do that setting.
Yeah, just click of a button and away you go, yeah.
Yeah, just like you could do changing your controls.
Nice.
Which is scary. Which is really scary.
Good
do you know what's not scary to me, Stu?
What's not scary?
Video games, Stu.
Oh, my God, video games.
We've had a better segue. There we go.
Nice.
Right, it's Halloween. You've played a spooky game. I've not played any spooky games. Now, you would go, is that because you're a fraidy cat, Brad? And I'll go, no, it's not, Stu. It's because they don't scare me at all. I do not get affected by them. I do not get affected by horror films. I'm not saying you're a scaredy cat, but do you get affected by horror?
I do, yeah. I less as I get older, because there's just a jadedness that comes with all media consumption the older you get. But I do get scared by them, yeah.
See, the only horror film that's ever scared me, properly scared me, and again, I might have said this before, is because I cannot logically explain it away. I cannot explain it and go, that can't happen, is Nightmare on Elm Street, because it's in your dreams. And it's the only one I could go, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I'm like, well, I just won't go to some weird creepy house in, like, the middle of, like, Nowheresville, USA. I just won't do that. I'm or most American horror films like that, I'm just not going to go to those sort of places. I'll, not really going to go camping in the woods at my age and stuff like that. So I'm not going to have an Eden Lake happen to me, or, I'm very unlikely to be caught out in the Australian outback and be caught by Mick, whatever his name is, not Mick Dundee, but the other psycho guy in that other film, Wolf Creek.
There's a rule that in Australian films you have to be called Mick, even the women.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's why the original thing with the Mick was originally set in Australia. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't. But yeah, it's, I'm not going to get in situations. I've got to sleep.
Yeah.
Now, video games. Never been scared by a video game. PT. I had jump scares, but that's not being scared of a video game. A jump scares are something completely different. This is why jump scares are old hat and boring. Even in the worst, most tedious bloody horror film guy, you do a jump scare, of course I'm going to go, oh, I wasn't expecting that, because you wasn't expecting it. Or even if you are expecting it, that timing might be slightly different, and it gets you. That's not being scared. Don't scream and then claim it's the scariest film ever. Do one. And stuff like that. So I just never be scared. And video games just don't scare me at all. I think I'm broken, Stu.
Well, most definitely. But, thankfully regular people are okay with being scared and can process it properly. But no, I'm only joking. It's a weird thing. It is a strange thing. And also, once you kind of get used to a particular game mechanic, it stops being scary, and it's very, very odd. But I do get kind of I like the ones that are more action focused. So I had a quick look at my top 100 to remind myself of the spooky ones that had managed to land on it, and there were very, very few really. The only proper horror games are Resident Evil and Dead Space, and I absolutely love Dead Space. That's way scarier than any of the Resident Evil.
It's brilliant.
Games.
I get it. It's a brilliant game, Dead Space. I love Dead Space.
Yes, I'm a huge fan. But it's even then, the primary motivator for me is that it is a good action game on top of everything.
And it does tension really well. That's
tension.
Yeah, the best spooky games or horror games are ones that do tension really well.
Yeah, so fantastic. But I haven't really played Soma or the Amnesia games or any of Fatal Frame, any of the ones that are supposed to be. Oh, Silent Hill. I really like I thought Silent Hill was particularly Silent Hill 2 was a classic, and Silent Hill Shattered Memories, which is less of a horror game, more of a psychological thriller. But that for me was just brilliant. I was blown away by that game, and
that's where you get me psychological thrillers. They're the ones that do sort of they are brilliant. Psychological thriller, because it's not trying to jump scare you, it's trying to get into your head, and they do it really well. Again, not scary, but a psychological thriller is not scary. It's not scary, it's effective in what it does. Silent Hill 2 and Shattered Memories both done that really well.
I loved that. I loved Silent Hill 2 and Shattered Memories in particular. Absolutely fantastic, and not really very excited by the remakes. And hopefully the new game will be good, but I'm not really holding out much hope.
The new one's a new team, isn't it? It's not Bloober Team, is it? The new one, Bloober Team are doing the Silent Hill 2 remake.
Yeah,
which has me worried.
Yes, but I'm worried and not worried because I'm not going to be buying it. I'm really down on remakes. There's only the odd one. I mean, I'm not kind of blanket saying they're all a bad idea, and I recognise that I've got a pig in this fight, but you don't really have pig fights very often.
Not legally.
I don't have a dog in this fight, but I do.
Don't even have dog fights. They're pretty illegal as well, Stu.
Yeah, they are very illegal.
You don't have a UFC trained fighter in this fight. Let's put it that way. Let's keep it above board here.
Yeah, I definitely don't have a UFC pig fighter in this fight. And that links in with a Machine for Pigs, the Amnesia game.
Nice.
But anyway, so I'm guessing that's what that game is about, is UFC pig fighters. But so I do have a pig in this fight because I've been playing games on PC for years. I don't need remakes anywhere near as much because when you get a new PC, you're just like, oh, I'll put my old game on and it'll look amazing. And it's only if it's like 20 or more years old that it starts looking a bit crap.
Yeah.
But I understand the need for them for people who, if they were wanted to play them again, they'd have to like dig out a 20-year-old console and it'd be running in 480i and looking absolute gack. But that said, no, I'm kind of over it. I'm really annoyed that there's so many of them. But that said, I probably will be buying Resident Evil 8 because it's got that DLC with the third-person mode, and I much prefer Resident Evil in third person, so I'll get my money that way at least.
Yeah, I've got Resi 8 or Resi Village now as well. I found it really, really cheap on a totally above board and legal CD keys site.
Of course.
That wasn't actually CD keys this time, but it was one of those, and I was like, I do really want to play this. Sod it. I can't help myself.
And did you play it for more than 5 minutes when you did buy it?
I haven't played it yet. I'm saving it because I haven't finished Resident Evil 7 yet, so I'm kind of saving it. But at a $5, I was like, what if it doesn't go that cheap ever? Go on then. So I went for it. But it's one of those Resident Evil 1 and 2 are brilliant. They do tension, as we said, we spoke about earlier, tension because it's like the controls make it tense because you can't just do the normal things you want to do. 4, 5, and 6 get progressively worse, we'll say. Like 4, I think, is brilliant, but it's more of an action game. It definitely went away from what Resident Evil was. 5, I've enjoyed. I think we played a brief bit of co-op, me and you, and I did enjoy it for what it was. 6, I think, gets an unnecessary rough time because if it wasn't a Resident Evil game, I think it'd be well received. There's plenty of games where if they're not what they were in their series, would be well received.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think Resi 6 is one of those, despite the pornographic giraffe image thing going on. I still can't unsee that. 7 is a good game. And it's like, I get what it's trying to do. I like the whole found footage thing going on. And, it's these creepy people's house and it takes you through there. Not scary at all because it's, it's been done. And but it's a good game. I think it was a really good experience that I've just never bothered finishing. And 8 looks like it expands on that to go back towards Resi 4 mythologies, I want to say. I don't know how that is or how that tracks. I believe there's some recurring themes from Resident Evil 4. Tell me if I'm wrong and I'm going completely down the wrong hole.
I don't know. I haven't played it yet.
And we're getting a remake of Resident Evil 4. Great. All of that. Brilliant. Just not scary. Now, Outlast is one that everyone went, it's scary. It's so scary, Outlast. Oh, my God. Do you know what? After 5 minutes, the scariest thing about Outlast was how boring and tedious it was. There was just no... As outside that initial, I wonder what's going to happen in here. Oh, yeah, look, it's quite creepy, isn't it? I get creepy, and it's everything like that. Oh, it's really creepy. Oh, look, something's jumped out at me. Oh, I bet when I go around this corner, something else. Oh, yeah, something else has jumped out at me. And oh, wait. Oh, no, let's go for the swerve on this one. It's not quite doing the jump scare. Oh, it's going to wait until I'm calm, and there's the jump scare. I was like, this is boring. I don't care anymore. The tension's been taken away. Whereas... And I said this at the time, with Outlast, had they said, look, I tell you what, this entire game, we're not actually going to put the enemy near you at all. You're not going to see the enemy. Or anything. We're not actually going to do a jump scare. We're just going to build that tension. Build it. And then we're going to hit you near the end. That would have been brilliant. What it was, it ended up being boring. That's what most horror games end up being, which is a shame.
Okay. Yeah, well,
and you're going, what?
A take.
I was terrified.
I've not played that game, so I can't really argue with you on it. But I think if you don't have that as like a comedy that doesn't make you laugh, isn't it? It's completely pointless if it doesn't click with you in that way. It's what I felt PT done really well to point out is that at no point there's only 1 or 2 occasions where there's like something happens. Most of that game, nothing happens, and that makes it infinitely more tense than most other fully fledged horror games. Yeah. Now, I think PT's legacy is the fact that there wasn't a Silent Hills game, because I think had there been a Silent Hills game, I don't think PT would have held up, because I don't think Silent Hills could have carried on PT tension into a full Silent Hills game. I think Kojima was saved by that whole Konami fallout.
And if people want a conspiracy theory, I'll give you a conspiracy theory. Kojima wanted that Fallout because he knew he couldn't make a good Silent Hills game.
Oh, maybe. Well, I can definitely. I could see that the death of PT both strengthened both Death Stranding and also Resident Evil 7. And there's loads. I feel there's a load of stuff in Resi 7. Although it doesn't aesthetically really look like it. There's loads of stuff about characters jumping right in your face, physically being in your face.
It started that subgenre, didn't it, of first-person horror? I would
PT
say.
definitely did. Yeah, and I think that it was capitalised on by Capcom.
I mean, even to the point that Capcom went, "Oh, I'll tell you what, we'll do a demo like PT."
Yeah,
because I'll tell you what, if they'd have just released that as a 30-40 minute experience and went, "There you go, that's Resi 7," I'd have gone, "Sweet, done." Yeah, that worked. Yeah. It was the problem with horror games. Again, this is the problem why I don't get scared about them. They're so long. I mean, it's like listening to me on a podcast, Stu. It's fine for the first few minutes, and then it's just tedious after that.
So true.
I know. But yeah, it's the problem is you give me an hour-long Resident Evil 7 that's just tense for an hour. That's great. Charge 15 quid, whatever for it. I will pay that. Try to stretch that out over 20 to 30 hours. There's a reason horror films on the whole, where they try to do horror, are only 90 minutes long at best. You get your Hereditaries, which for me isn't a horror film, it's a psychological thriller with supernatural elements to it, etc., etc., etc. And that's spread out because it's got a story to tell and it works. A horror film can't do that. A horror film, to be its best, has got to be hit you and you're done.
Well, I really like anthology horror, where there's little vignettes. They tend to work really well. And, I love them. I love those, VHS and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're really good. And the ABCs of death and stuff like that.
True.
The most scariest really is the price of sweets.
That's true. Where's the 10p mix, eh? That's what I want to know.
My daughter's she's had a lovely costume made for her by a friend's mum. Nan, sorry.
Oh, that's great.
Which is really good. She's what is she, a devil?
We're all about the costume.
Yeah, I was going to say. What about the costume?
She's some kind of devil woman with the costume.
Oh, with evil on her mind.
Yes. Yeah. That was really cool. And I like the whole trick-or-treat thing for kids. You see a lot of people going, "Oh, it's all American." So what? What?
I don't understand why. Yeah.
Kids are having fun. Yeah. I like the odd Daily Mail article about razor blades in sweets and why you shouldn't get... It's all part of the tradition now.
Totally. No, I love Halloween. And it definitely... It's that thing of amplifying the horror. It is definitely scarier to watch horror films at Halloween and... go and see horror films in the cinema as well, and playing horror video games in the dark with headphones on. It's always good to do that.
Don't get me wrong, I don't find horror games or films scary. I love horror games, I love horror films, I love a great horror film. I just think they're brilliant to watch. And I love a good jump scare. I'm not going to lie, part of parcel, we went through a little while of trying to just scare Lucas all the time, and it was brilliant because he'd scream. I think I spoke about it on an older podcast and stuff. It's brilliant. Jump scares are brilliant.
That is entertaining. Watching somebody in sort of psychological terror.
Yeah, it is for 3/5 of seconds. But it's not scary. It's just that immediate. But it's not scary.
Okay.
I challenge any game developer to make a video game that makes me cower in the corner. Once you've done that, you've got me.
Fair enough.
But yeah, no, I don't know. It's brilliant there. Enjoy your spooky season. We'll be back after spooky season. And I'm gonna Stu, I'm gonna end the terror. I'm gonna shut up now.
Okie dokie. Enjoy Halloween out there. It's coming up on Monday as we're recording. Play some scary video games, even if you don't find them scary, like my freaky co-host. And other than that, follow us on all the socials. Join our Discord channel if you fancy chatting to like-minded spooky people. Oh my god. Oh, you cheeky bastard. He's recording, right, he's talking to me, but he's not recording it. So I've got to I just sound like I'm mad. Oh my god. Anyway, So yeah, Brad's a twat. So we all understand that. That's great. But in the meantime, you don't have to listen to him. You're not listening to him now. You're the lucky ones. So stay safe and stay sane.